Hello and welcome, all friends and devotees of yoga and Buddhism. Today is June the 24th, 2019. It's Monday today, and I'm just going to continue disseminating this lecture regarding my discoveries and my current investigation into the wonderful wisdom collection of the great Buddhist master Singyung. Master Singyung, of course, hardly needs an introduction. He's one of the greatest Buddhists in the world today, just like the Dalai Lama. He was the founder of the Four Guangshang. Four Guangshang has done tremendously well. They've built institutions of higher learning universities in so many countries around the world. They brought Buddhism to Africa through the Nanhua Foundation in South Africa, Johannesburg, South Africa. They have one of the most affordable universities established here in the United States, University of the West. I've been there in Rosemead, California. And of course, the very biggest Buddhist foundation in North America, the CLI Foundation in Los Angeles. I've also been there. So Master Singyung is a very tremendously giant personality in Buddhism. And here is his wisdom. If a practitioner can live in peace and contentment, his or her way will naturally flourish. Similarly, people from all walks of life also need to feel settled in their professions before they can find fulfillment. Our body and mind need to live in peace and ease, and what follows are some guidelines for doing so. Some guidelines for living in peace. 1. Folks, just have your papers and pen, listen attentively, and jot as much as you can jot. When living in peace and quiet, we still need to be alert to danger. According to one saying, people without regard for the future inevitably end up having concerns close at hand. When things are calm, we have to think of how to deal with emergencies and accidents. For instance, even amidst fame and fortune, we should be aware of what we should do if we find ourselves in a dire situation. Even as we prosper in a high position, we should consider how to handle ourselves when impermanence strikes and we have to step down. The Book of Odes reminds us, before the heavens become dark with rain, I gather back from the roots of the trees and weave it tightly, in order to make the window and door of my abode. This illustrates the importance of being aware of danger in times of peace and being prepared so that we will not be troubled when misfortune descends upon us. 2, when living in fortune, we need to think of distant trouble. When we are going well, doing very well in life, and everything is going smoothly, we cannot afford to rely on our fortune and become complacent. Looking at history, numerous rulers were living in affluence and comfort, but because of their ignorance over the possibility of their demise, they lost the kingdom, and they lost their kingdom and their lives. In the midst of the most prosperous reign of the Tang dynasty, Wei Cheng, the minister renowned for his wisdom, courage, and foresight, counseled Emperor Tai, saying, when in a high and vulnerable position, one needs to think of humility. When blessed with overflowing abundance, one needs to think of loss. When in prosperity, one needs to think of frugality. Likewise, we must remind ourselves frequently, even if we are enjoying great fortune, because we need to be vigilant in life so as to be at peace in death. 3, when living in abundance, we need to relieve the needy. When we are living in wealth and prosperity, we should help in emergencies and support the needy. Some people respond to charity work with the thought, I should wait until I have more money to give. People like that are miserly in giving, and in their lifetime will never find any money to donate, because the day they have extra money to help others will never arrive. Therefore, when we have more money than what we need for our basic needs in life, Why wait to help others? Mencius once said, all people have a heart of mercy. Charity for the needy is therefore the way to cultivate our compassion. 4. When in high position, we need to be mindful of humility. If people in high position do not care for the hardships of their subordinates and treat the latter with arrogance, an organization's tenuous harmony will be shattered as complaints and grudges grow over time. Therefore, people in high positions must treat their subordinates with sincerity and kindness. Moreover, they have to be prepared for unforeseen changes because one day they will have to give up their position and plan for a new life. Okay, what the Buddha always does in the Dhammapada, he summarizes in the Dhammapada Sutra, of course, that's his summary sutra. The Buddha summarizes all his teachings into 423 verses of anthology in the Dhammapada. I translated this work into African language for the first time in the history of his translation into Esa, and I also have, of course, a translation in English as well, a retranslation in English, and an original translation in Esa, which is an African language. So I had the Chinese, English, and Esa book of the Dhammapada, Sutra of Dhammapada, published online. Just Google that, you find it there. Oseo Aburime Dhammapada, or Christopher Aburime Dhammapada is. Okay, now, Master Singyu uses this same wisdom from the Buddha. That is, we have to be clear. When I teach you, I have to be as clear as possible. The Buddha didn't want any confusion, so all his work, he summarized it in a nutshell. For instance, Jesus Christ also did something very similar in Christianity. Jesus Christ said, the summary of my teachings is love your neighbors as you love yourselves. If you love your neighbors as you love yourself, you have fulfilled the law. Don't bother about any other thing. Do you love your neighbor as you love yourself? So these great teachers always have this. Anytime we think of Jesus Christ, we think about love, period. Anytime we think about the Buddha, we think about compassion, wisdom. Be compassionate to the humans. All human beings feel suffering. Be compassionate to all. The Buddha kept, teaching this. And you find that in the Dhammapada greatly. Compassionate to humans, compassionate to animals. Very similar to the teachings of Christ. So the Dhammapada does that very concise work of summarizing the entire Buddhist thought and philosophy. So Master Singyu does that here. Students, I need you to really highlight a lot here. Okay, listen carefully. Sun Tzu, the famous strategist, said, the wise think of both gain and loss. The wise think of both gain and loss. People with wisdom will not think of just one side of any matter. They will consider the pros and the cons. They will consider the pros and the cons. I need you highlighting all this, of the whole situation. Even on the verge of triumph, they will make contingency plans for possible failure so that there will be a way out of the situation. That's wisdom. This is the way to live in peace for the wise. For after all, tasks can be accomplished with preparation. Tasks can be accomplished with preparation, but fail without them. Okay? So folks, I know you've got the point. I've really emphasized greatly on the key points, and I need you now to go on when you go to your libraries, your personal libraries, your private studies. You need to be able, you want to actually go over your notes again and reflect and meditate on these points, put them all together concisely, and it builds you. It builds who you are and your success in life. That's what wisdom is for. Wisdom is for success. So, preserve this wisdom, and by wisdom, preserve your own being as a human being that lived decently, wisely. Okay, a word is enough for the wise. So I'll stop there. Thanks. Namo Amitofo.